Pokemon Legends Arceus is about filling the Pokedex and doing Lord Arceus' bidding. Normally, you would form a team to fight your battles. But what if I ignore God's plan and do every battle with one beefed up Snorlax? A Snorlax you can get at the beginning of the game. I thought that since it came at the very start, I could take this Snorlax and do every battle until the end. But catching this Snorlax took a bit longer to get than I initially thought. At the start of my journey, I was greeted by God and all he gave me was an iPhone and made me a main character in Isekai. I chose Akari, because Chad told me to, don't judge me. And it was looking great though, because everyone in the village, after telling me I would die in the wilderness, then sent me into the wilderness. I was then force-fed 4 Snorlaxes, 40 minutes of dialogue, learning how to dodge roll, and falling asleep to the eccentric gameplay. Finally, after all the tutorials and initial story was done, I'm finally able to attempt to catch Snorlax. Attempt. I sat for 45 minutes trying to catch him. Yeah, it didn't really work. And yeah, I got impatient. Maybe I have to get this Snorlax to lower health. I leveled my Pokemon a bit, caught some new ones, and tried to catch the alpha known as Snorlax once more. I failed. A lot more. I really did not know if I was really unlucky or it was impossible. There's no way that my incompetency as a trainer could be linked to my poor attempts at catching this red-eyed beefy boy. Had to be impossible. So I went to the internet, and I was affirmed by my chat that when you have a Pokeball out, you are targeted on a Pokemon, and there's a red X on the crosshair. It is impossible to catch. There was at least 2 articles telling me this when I initially looked it up. So I listened. I grounded out a star, and checked Snorlax. And there was still red X. I got my second, even 3rd star. Still red X. I thought it had to be casual on the 4th star, because after each star you are rewarded with usually a new recipe for Pokeballs or other items, and the ability to control Pokemon to a certain level. Snorlax being level 45, made me think by the 4th star I should be able to catch him with it having a level 50 cap. I walked back to Snorlax with my 4th star in my notebook. And why is there still a red X? I grinded these stars out for about 5 hours, all of which being still in the first zone. I love Pokemon, but some of these challenges can get a little tiresome after doing them hundreds of times. None of this made sense to me. I'm way above the level cap, and in my other Arceus runs, I swear I was able to catch other alpha. And I caught it with my first Pokeball. I'm not gonna question what I did with those 5 hours of my life. If it really was all a fallacy, that these articles were probably written hours after release, trying to get as many views as possible, whether they were telling the truth or not, but what is done is done. So with my lack of humor and intelligence, I continue my run with Arceus the Snorlax. The run has finally started and I've not really mentioned the rules, so here. No items, no other Pokemon, obviously, and I'll try not to overlevel when I can, so this run can actually be challenging and hopefully entertaining. If I do have to catch any Pokemon to recede in the game, I will make sure not to do any battles with them, and after catching them, I proceed to turn them into dust to feed my hungry, beefy boy. Now, being able to leave the starting area after the first 6 hours, I was greeted with my first battle in the solo run, and the irony that I'm facing and look at that, a Munchlax. All my grinding was finally worth it, and after comparing sizes with I knew that the upcoming fights were going to be really easy with my level 45 Snorlax. I will not have to gain any extra stars to progress into the next few areas in the game either. I did know, however, that some fights are going to be really tricky later in the run, 1v2 or 1v3 battles, and much higher level Pokemon. So, I was going to breeze through the story until then. After Maya, I was given a tutorial on alphas, after trying to catch one this whole run, fought Leon, and then report back to base. Changed my fit to, Oshawott, and talked to a bunch of people about how to defeat Cleaver, the first noble Pokemon that was caused by the same sky we came from. Third year, decided I was good enough, I fight Irida's Glaceon, and then proceed to my noble fight with Cleaver. These animations they have before the noble fights are probably one of my favorite parts about this game, because actual animations are entertaining. Thank you, Game Freak. Next, I tried my best to not fail the children's minigame, and was able to defeat Cleaver. I report back to Commando Kamado, and silently tells me to go to the next zone. Thankfully, because of all my training at the start, I don't have to play the Pokemon catching simulator. But quick and easy battle with Ray, the rival in this game, is really a joke compared to other battles. They gave him a Pikachu to start, and they decided Mime Jr. was the next best Pokemon for his team. Next, we visit the second area, the Crimson Mirelands. Talk to Calba of the Pearl Clan, and she lets us know some ancient artwork has been installed. Olo shows up, like the majority of the playthrough, for some plot convenience, and we had another simple battle against Togepi and his now new Gible. He tells us after the battle where a likely spot is for our artwork thief, leading us to our first encounter with the Misfortune Sisters. Coin challenges us with her Toxicroak, giving us our first big challenge. No, yeah, I lied. Snorlax is still just one-shotting everything. After failing to cross a bridge, No. No, I'm drowning. I returned the caveman drawing, and Calva summoned a very uglier and a lesser beefy boy. We won the fight with ease and are given the ability to use the gooed up bear to do some sniffing. Oh no, yeah, I don't want you. I use Ursaluna for the one time is needed in this playthrough and find a hurt and weirdly camera angled Arizu. Anyway, she tells me where to find the noble Lilligant. Snorlax puts Lilligant into perspective, making a quick fight. Next, I'm sent to the Kobold Coastlands to investigate the spookiness of Firesped Island. I'm immediately greeted with a fight with Irida, and this is one of Snorlax's first encounters with 2-on-1 combat. I guess rules weren't really formed for Pokemon battles in this age, but a lot of trainers are just using 2 Pokemon at once. Irida had a Glaceon and Eevee, and they were such low level that Snorlax cleaned them up. The realization of Snorlax not being immortal suddenly hit me after this fight after not being able to one-shot a level 30 Glaceon. So I made sure to max out all my stats as much as I could afterward, my leftover dust from putting Pokemon in the grinder. After these 2 zones, Snorlax really only leveled up 1 level so far, and I knew that battles are going to be a lot tougher now, and especially later on in the run. Afterwards, Polina tells us to see a newer but very scared character named Miskon. And our fanboy Volo is waiting for us there as well. I disregard him, and then Iscan tells us that we need a Dusclops to make a soup in order to attract and tame Basculegion in order to make it to the volcano with the shadowy figures. Okay, cool, I guess. I get Dusclops, name it Snorlax, make soup, then release it. With everyone together, we get Basculegion to come. What? And then, oh no, Misfortune Sisters are back and they use black screen in order to steal Growlithe. Anyway, we use our newly founded Basculegion to get to Firesped Island. Firesped Island. Yeah, I guess they didn't really know what the term volcano was back then, but that doesn't matter because we have our first hard encounter this run, when we have to face every Misfortune Sister back to back to back. First we have Clover, who is an Abomasnow. Snorlax really isn't that fast, so I'm forced to take guaranteed damage unless it misses Icicle Crash. I'm able to defeat it in one turn with the Agile Zen Headbutt into Strong Style Zen Headbutt. Pretty simple. Next is Coin. She has Toxicroak that uses Poison Jab instead of any other fighting move, allowing Snorlax to only take a little bit of damage, but Zen Headbutt is another easy one-shot because of its quad effectiveness. This leads to the real threat, Charm. It leads with Rhydon, which is not much of a threat on its own, but in my first run I was not able to one-shot it, leading to taking a lot of damage to its back-to-back bulldozes. After defeating Rhydon, I'm guaranteed into taking 2 hits from her Gengar. First uses Hypnosis, but then it uses Venoshock right after, which deals massive amounts of damage, finishing Snorlax off. I learned that I will need a bit more strategy in this fight after blindly winning every battle until now, but I was pretty close last time, so I went to the fight again. The run went pretty similarly, but I was poisoned by Toxicroak's Poison Jab. Wanting to recover, I used Rest, and got to a pretty comfortable health. This ended up not being in my favor though, because instead of Gengar only using 1 Venoshock, it just ends up using 2, which is more than enough to take down Snorlax in the second run. In my third run, I was going with a very similar strategy, one-shotting Abomasnow with Agile move into Strong Move Zen Headbutt, one-shotting Toxicroak, and one-shotting Rhydon, and hoping that I don't take a lot of damage into Gengar. I can't use Rest here, but I went to Gengar with 286 HP. And its Venoshock only does about 135. I was a bit scared here, and I think I selected Rest when I could have just killed with Zen Headbutt, but hey, it worked out, and I didn't get drowsy and one-shot Gengar with a Zen Headbutt. After the fight, the tiny Growlithe evolved, which was very cool until it got struck by lightning. Anyway, the Misfortune Sisters leave out of fright, and I go into the normal fight with Hisuian Arcanine. And yes, I may have failed the noble fight.
I can't throw it far enough. Oh, that's not good.
Another session of child labor completed. I hope I can rest at the village.
Oh, I have to fight another noble.
Well, it seems I have to prove myself to Melly. We're like, Smelly. Yeah, got him. I have another Eevee gangbang, but this time with Adamant. It's basically the same fight I had with Irida before, but instead of Glaceon, he uses Leafeon. Adamant's Eevee only has about 3 levels on Irida's Eevee, and Leafeon only has about 6 on Glaceon. So it was pretty similar, allowing Snorlax to show Melly who was really in charge. I finally arrive at the Coronet Highlands, and a brainwash by God Ingo guides me through an unlit cave by Melly. Ingo and R led to another roadblock, and yeah, it's Melly again, but he decides to fight us this time. And like the smelly man he is, his only Pokemon is Skuntank. Snorlax's levels and stats kinda check Skuntank a bit, allowing for an easy battle with a high horsepower. Volo shows up like always and tells us some plot points, but after we are led by Ingo to a a highland. But in order to climb this highland, we first need access to our favorite Demon Slayer cosplayer, Sneasler, which we get after a battle against Ingo, starting with his Machoke. And I'm not healed from our last fight, which actually ended up mattering because after getting to Ingo's Gliscor, Snorlax missed an Ice Beam, which would have taken it out. After a quick second run and an accurate Ice Beam, Ingo showed us what he can do with his flute, giving us access to Sneasler. We had a battle with a very irrelevant character with random level 22 Pokemon, which I had to beat on my second try because my Pokemon that can heal himself wasn't healed. And after that, I got to see my favorite animation in the game. That's it. Yeah, the bar's pretty low for Game Freak. I arrived back at the village, proud of my own success in child labor, and I needed another star. Yeah, I didn't think this would happen.
So we can go next area.
Before I left, I went to see Zizu to learn a couple new moves, just in case I would need them. Got a wide variety of moves: Iron Head, Water Pulse, Shadow Ball, a few of the elemental punch moves, just in case. Next, we have our last fight with the Rainas Route 1 team. He had a Staravia that could have evolved 12 evolves ago, a Pikachu, and a Mr. Mime. Snorlax had an easy sweep, and we were led to the final area, the Alabaster Icelands. On our way to the last noble, I'm greeted by Garrick, a Pearl Clan warden who challenged us to a battle. It is another 1v2 situation, and at first glance, I was a bit scared of Froslass and Glalie, but they really didn't do much damage. I learned Froslass was only level 24, and used Powder Snow, making Glalie the only real threat. I took out Froslass first, and if I got low, the rest was always a slow but reliable strategy helping me win the fight. Next we meet Savvy, who can teach us how to use Tsui and Bravery, but first we gotta play tag. She's allowed to fly and we can't, so after a small goose chase and a cool ruin with some memory puzzles, Savvy challenges to a battle. Another 3v1 battle. Thankfully with these battles, they make some of the Pokemon a lot lower level, with Magmortar and Electivire only being level 30 compared to Rhyperior at level 50. I first went for the Magmortar, trying to get the small guys out of the way as quick as possible. I learned this was a big mistake, seeing how much damage Rhyperior was doing. Rhyperior already got Snorlax super low, and when I tried to rest off the damage, Snorlax was caught in sleep. My second try at the fight was tough, immediately getting Thunder Waved, but learning and going after the Rhyperior, I went for a strong style high horsepower, trying to get an Oko, but the damage was not enough. This left Snorlax very vulnerable, getting it to low health, but thankfully Rest was still able to land. After Rhyperior was down, I took out Magmortar, but Electivire got out a lot of damage in the process, leaving Snorlax at 10 health. Snorlax was able to hit through Paralysis, defeating Savvy. Next, I totally forgot, but Savvy tells us to fight Braviary. The funny part is I looked around for Savvy and she's like totally gone from the scene after the battle started. Anyways, I went for strong style Ice Beam on Braviary at my 10 health and wasn't able to take it down, making me one of the few people who probably lost this bird. It was okay because I just took it down after 2 Ice Beams on the second fight. My fight with Hisui and Avalugg went fine. No deaths or anything, I didn't have to redo the fight.
I'm losing in a Pokemon game. I didn't think I was rolling into it. I'm embarrassed. I blame it being 1:49 a.m.
After some unfunny script writing, it turned out that my child labor wasn't good enough, and that we were kicked out of the village. I don't mind, I always sleep in this tent anyway, Kamado. Volo finally has some plot relevance and leads us to a new place to stay, which also has a very nice lady named Kagita, I don't know, who gives us the idea of finding the lake legends and forming the Red Chain. I visited each legendary at the respective lake cave things through the use of my god-powered iPhone. Each lake had an alpha Hisuian Pokemon waiting there and a trial. The battles were all one-on-one, making it really no issue. The trials, however, were all simple, except I had trouble remembering how many Isaac Combi had. We met with the legendary trio at the Shrouded Ruins and formed the Red Chain, then returned to the village. The Commando and other key very important members are missing at the top of Mount Coronet, face the rift straight on. But before we get to the top, we have to face the ultimate encounter to our favorite normal type, Benny, the Mochi Maker. Turns out, my man is a ninja, and his whole team are leveled up right next to Snorlax. The main problem with this team is he has 2 fighting types, back to back no less. And they either one-shot Snorlax, or are very close to. As of now, Snorlax's stats are maxed out with dust items, and I really don't want to level him up anymore because if I go past 65, he won't pay me unless I get more stars. And that's a lot of grinding, I don't do that. I initially was only level 59, but after many attempts I knew I needed to get to my level 65 cap to get at least a slight edge. I knew doing it at this level was possible, I just didn't think it would take me 3 hours. This team is a Mismagius, Sneasler, Gallade, and Gardevoir. Most runs, Snorlax doesn't even get past Sneasler. Starting off with Mismagius though, you can either use Hypnosis or Power Gem. In an ideal run, Mismagius uses Hypnosis and it misses. You may be asking yourself, hey, can you just use a Shadow Ball or learn better moves? Well, during this time in the story, we're not able to visit Zizu, the TM trainer, because she is at the top of Mount Coronet with Commando Kamado. What really hurts though, is after I went back to the village to find her, I see the same ninja man who I'm trying to beat for many hours mocking me. This also doesn't allow Snorlax to make any of his moves agile or strong, which incredibly hurts the one-shot potential for Mismagius and the ability to master other moves, which can help them run so much more. I had to make do with the moves I have already learned and mastered. Back to the Mismagius, if she goes for a Power Gem first turn, that's fine. It doesn't deal that much damage to Snorlax. The problem with Mismagius is she normally hits a Hypnosis, and Snorlax landing 2 consecutive hits afterwards hurts many runs. Because Snorlax takes so much damage from Power Gem because it's sleepy that it gets one-shot by Sneasler. Now, Sneasler is the next obstacle. It's pure RNG if you live against Sneasler after you beat Mismagius. This is because it comes in and can hit you with Quick Attack into Strong Style Close Combat, which is more than enough to take down Snorlax at full health. You can use 0, 1, or 2 quick attacks, and Strong Style for close combat is also RNG, but perfect scenario, Sneasler just uses close combat and nothing else. This fight is where 80% of runs die. Gallade is the next Pokemon, and it is another RNG check. Gallade is faster than Snorlax, obviously, so you hope that instead of Dynamic Punching you, guaranteeing your death, he for some reason uses Swords Dance. This, I would say, is about 50-50, but if you Swords Dance, you get a free Giga Impact and go into Gardevoir. Gardevoir either one-shots you or sets up and then one-shots you. The first time I got to Gardevoir, I was so happy because I saw Calm Mind, and then I saw that I immediately got Psychicked afterwards because it has that much speed. However, with these conditions set in mind, I came up with a strategy that all I needed to work was to get extremely lucky. Normally, if I use Rest on Sneasler or Gallade, it'll do as much damage as my Rest heals, and I'll end up losing that battle due to Drowsy. But if I instead Thunder Punch Gallade, and he somehow gets paralyzed, and then get stuck in paralysis the same turn, I can rest and hope to live against Gardevoir. So I tried my strategy over and over and over. Run after run, losing to Sneasler. When I did get to Gallade, my Thunder Punch just wouldn't paralyze. Until an abnormal run happened. Starting off the fight, Mismagius missed Hypnosis. This is basically a guarantee that I live against Sneasler, which is a great start. And after taking 2 quick attacks from Sneasler into close combat, I was at the highest health I ever seen Snorlax after Sneasler. 124 HP, which was super high compared to other runs where I'm always around about 30 to 100. Gallade uses Swords Dance, and I think it's another shot for paralysis against Gallade. I looked at my health and thought, I lost to Gardevoir at 90 health after a Psychic. But in my head, I knew that Snorlax had such high special defense that I gave it another shot. Gardevoir uses Calm Mind, and then uses Psychic, and I lived at 14 HP. I prayed my 90% accurate Giga Impact to hit, and it did. After 3 hours, I beat Pokemon Legends. Okay, there's still like an hour left of gameplay. Do we still gotta go? But it was kind of boring. Hey, it's Miloc from 4 months in the future. After Benny, we fought Captain Kamado in a Restall fight and beat the game by catching with the legendaries and making the sky work again. Bye!